Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned the honor and privilege of your subscription. And of course, everybody who's watching, if you enjoy this video or get anything out of it, take a couple of seconds to click that thumbs up button down below. It's a great way to show my channel's support without having to spend any money. And if you'd like to take your support to the next level so that I can keep making videos about making guitars, you can visit eguitarplans.com or my Highline Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below, and any purchase you make on those sites is going to help support this channel financially. And if you want to keep it really simple, you can just click the thanks button down below and leave a tip in the amount that you think is fair. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is I want to kind of expand on the last couple of videos that I've made, one of which I talked about the weight of a guitar, and then in another video I talked about guitar balance. So to expand upon that, what I wanted to talk about in this episode is guitar ergonomics. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase before, or you've seen guitars that are described as ergonomic guitars. And for those of you who don't know what that is, the term ergonomics basically means, if you look it up on the internet, and I looked up a lot of different definitions on the internet, including Merriam-Webster's as well as Google's artificial intelligence. And every single definition that I found included the term scientific. Okay, so here, for example, Google's artificial intelligence defines ergonomics as ergonomics, also known as human factors engineering, is the scientific study of how to adapt workstations, tools, and job techniques to fit the human body. Okay, now all the other definitions, like I said, included that term scientific study. So one would assume when you see a guitar that's described as ergonomic, that the design was based on scientific study of how a guitar fits the human body. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Now, some of the big manufacturers of ergonomic guitars, in fact, I think the biggest most well-known manufacturer is Strandberg Guitars, and they've been building ergonomic guitars for many years. And I would assume that they have used or have conducted research into what would constitute an ergonomic guitar. Now, when you look at ergonomic guitars on the internet, you'll notice that there's some general shapes that seem to be fairly common, whether it's Strandberg or other manufacturers or luthiers that are building one-off instruments. They all seem to follow that same basic shape. And this would imply that this shape has been proven somehow to be ergonomically desirable for a human to play. And so when we decide we want to make an ergonomic guitar, that's I think typically how most luthiers are going to approach it, is they're going to gravitate towards those shapes. Now, I myself have made ergonomic guitars in the past. However, I never conducted any sort of scientific study on the subject. Instead, I just looked at what was being done by others and mimicked that. In fact, this is a prototype that I did a couple of years ago for a custom build. Now, one of the guitars that I've always thought was probably the original ergonomic guitar was the Fender Stratocaster. And the reason for that is because Leo Fender put some fair amount of work in designing the body so that it would be comfortable to play. He put in a forearm contour, he put in the belly relief and the cutaways, as well as these roundovers all the way around the perimeter of the top and the back of the guitar. And that makes the guitar more comfortable to play. However, I don't think that Fender ever used the term ergonomics when describing the design of the Stratocaster. And possible because the term, I'm not even sure if it existed back in the early 1950s when they developed the Stratocaster. However, I think if they had used the term, they would have had to hire ergonomics scientists or engineers to do the research to figure out exactly how to design the guitar to make it as comfortable and efficient to play as they possibly could. Now, companies like Strandberg, I would imagine that they have done the research. I would assume that they've hired ergonomic engineers and scientists to develop and design the guitars that they sell. Because I think if you're going to use the term ergonomic to describe your guitar, well, you have to use science as part of your design process. If you don't, then that could be deceptive to your customers. So I think it would behoove a company that uses ergonomics to describe their guitar to go down the path of hiring the necessary people to consult at least in the design of their guitars. Now, I've designed ergonomic guitars myself, but when I'd done this, I didn't hire an ergonomic engineer or scientist to help me design it. Instead, I just relied on the work that other companies have done, and this has a very Strandberg-like shape to it. And you'll notice when you look at a lot of ergonomic designs on the internet, if you do a Google image search, you'll see a lot of the same shapes keep coming up. And it's this basic shape that you see that's supposed to be more ergonomically comfortable. In truth, though, when I built this guitar, I really didn't know for sure if this was truly an ergonomic design. I just was basing it off of shapes that I had seen others do, so I just assumed it would be an ergonomic design. And I think it probably is. But part of the problem is that when it comes to playing guitar, a lot of guitarists, their concept of what is comfortable to play is subjective. And what's comfortable for one person to play is not necessarily going to be comfortable for somebody else to play. So trying to design a one-size-fits-all ergonomic guitar for everybody is almost impossible, because someone's going to pick it up and say, yeah, this is amazing, I love how this feels, but then somebody else is going to pick it up and go, nah, doesn't work for me. So that makes it kind of a problem. And I would think that if you were going to be making ergonomic guitars for sale to the public and you hired a scientist or an engineer or a researcher to help you design the guitar, you would have to promote it as being the most ergonomically possible. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be ergonomic for everybody, but you could impress upon people, customers, that you've made every effort possible to make the guitar as ergonomic for everyone that you possibly could. And that would kind of leave open the door for the possibilities that somebody will pick up the guitar and they're not going to like the way it feels. So when it comes to designing your guitar, a guitar that you're going to play or that you're building for a friend or for customers, how do you determine what features to incorporate to make it ergonomic? Well, you can go the easy route and copy a Fender Stratocaster or copy those features, or you can copy a Strandberg and copy those features. But if you want to do something unique and original, you have to decide what features are going to be most important to players to make the guitar comfortable. And I think that probably the two most common features that you see on a lot of guitars, whether they're described as ergonomic or not, are going to be the forearm contour and then this belly relief. Now, what's interesting is I like the forearm contour. I just think it's so much more comfortable when you're playing the guitar to have your hand resting against a nice round over and not against a sharp edge. That's one of the things I never liked about Les Pauls, is your hand can rest on that sharp binding edge. But with this roundover, it's much more comfortable. Now with the belly relief, I put belly relief on just about every guitar I build, whether it's for myself or for a customer or others. Now the belly relief has become really popular, and I think its popularity can be tied to the fact that our society is getting heavier. And right now, we're a society filled with obese people who are trying to play their guitars. And having that belly relief makes it comfortable if you have a large distended belly. Now, I don't have a large distended belly, but I still like to have that belly relief. For me, however, it has nothing to do with fitting around my belly, which I don't have. It has to do with my lower rib cage. I don't like the body pressing in against my lower rib cage. So when I'm playing the guitar, whether I'm standing or sitting, I like to have that little bit of cutaway where that relief is, because it takes the pressure off my lower rib cage. And that's the reason why I like to incorporate that. So you have to ask yourself, what features do you want to incorporate that will make your guitar more ergonomically comfortable to play? Now, another feature that I think bears mentioning is relief where the neck meets the body. By carving away this material, you make it easier to gain access to the upper frets. You're not running into a block of wood at the front of the body like you do on a Stratocaster. That was the one factor in the design of a Stratocaster that I think kind of killed any potential for describing it as ergonomic. It's the fact that the heel is a great big block of wood. So you don't get that comfortable access to those upper frets because you're running your hand into that big block of wood. So that right there wipes out a significant portion of any ergonomic appeal that the Stratocaster design has. So I think if you were to list out all the features that you would want to consider when designing a guitar for ergonomic comfort, you would want to consider the forearm relief, the belly relief, and then easy access by carving away where the neck meets the body on the heel portion on the back of the guitar. Now, there are some other important factors to consider in terms of ergonomics. However, some of these factors, it's a hard stretch to call them ergonomic because they are not scientific. And one of those, for example, is neck contours. There are a wide variety of different kind of neck contours that you can make. You can do a C shape, a D shape, a U shape. You can do V shapes. There's hard Vs, soft Vs. You can do asymmetrical shapes where the shape changes along its length. So obviously we can't call that ergonomic because ergonomic requires the use of the term scientific. And when it comes to guitar neck shapes, it's not really scientific. It's personal preference. It's subjective. There's also, for example, tuner placement. You can have inline tuners. You can have 3x3 tuners. You can have reverse headstocks. And all those will play into the efficiency and the comfort of the guitar. Again, it's not necessarily ergonomic because it's not scientific. And then, of course, there is the arrangement of your controls, where you place the volume, where you place the selector switch, the tone controls. A lot of that is going to be intended to maximize player efficiency and comfort. But again, it's hard to call that ergonomic because every guitar player is going to have a different preference for this. And a lot of it has to do with how they learn to play the guitar. And they may have developed or have become accustomed to an arrangement for controls based on playing a guitar that they had for many, many years. And then changing to a different layout can affect their efficiency as a player. So in an indirect way, you could call that ergonomic by suggesting that it is based on player experience. But to call it strictly ergonomic based on how all humans function is incorrect. So, but those are still things that you should consider in trying to design a guitar that's going to be as comfortable and as efficient to play as possible. I hope you found this video to be interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about when you are considering an ergonomic guitar or guitar ergonomics. When you design and build a guitar, do you consider some of these factors to make the guitar more comfortable and therefore potentially more efficient and more enjoyable to play? Do you prioritize them? Are you willing to sacrifice some for the appearance of the guitar? You know, for example, if you're putting binding all the way around the perimeter of the body, that sometimes forces you to eliminate certain features like round over forearm contours or scalloped cutaways, that sort of thing. So put those down in the comments section below. I think it might be an interesting discussion that we can have about guitar ergonomics. And as always, until the next episode, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for future guitar building videos.